Hi guys, today I want to show you a game I played in the line of the names of each defense. At this time I was rated 2005 and my opponent was around 1900. So I just want to show you how the game went so that if you love the names of each weapon, you can employ it as a surprise weapon. So I was playing black, so my opponent starts with e4, play knight c6, which signals the names of each defense, and my opponent plays knight f3. So what I've realized is most of the time, white players who face the knight c6 line are not quite prepared for it. So most of the time, any e4 player um, would want to go back to lines that he or she is comfortable with. So that's why they play moves such as knight f4, so that anticipating e5 so that they can strike back and go into gambit lines such as Scotch Gambit and all that. So I played a gambit here, a very interesting gambit. Um, f4 and f4. I realized that all the time I play this f4 move, my opponents are usually surprised, like what's happening. Well, it's not a very common gambit, I must say. So what this does, it takes your opponent out of their theory. I mean, and their lines of which they are uncomfortable with. So let me show you how my opponent reacted to this gambit. Well, he accepted the gambit. So next we play d5. So the purpose of d5 is very simple. I just want to recapture this pawn with the bishop. So that's the only idea I have. And yeah, my opponent played bishop d3, which is an excellent move actually. So he's trying to hang on to this pawn, but you realize in most gambit lines it's never a good idea to actually hang on to the gambited pawn. I mean, all you do is just give black attacking ideas and all that. So yeah. So well, again, the purpose of, I just want to recapture this pawn. So my next move is obvious. Knight h6. So I have a double hit on the pawn, the knight and the bishop, and now I just want to recapture this pawn, yeah. And at this point, my opponent should just maybe castle, but they're very determined to hang on to this pawn. So he plays knight h4. So you can see the pawn now is protected twice by the knight and the bishop, right? And so what to do? So knight h4 is actually a mistake, and as black you have to know the best way to punish this. Whenever you see your opponent is trying to hang on to this pawn this way, you have to punish. So the knight h4 moves, you can see the knight is hanging here, so at 35. So the knight is under attack from the queen right away, and my opponent gives me this check, and it's a scary looking check. And on the surface, it seems like White is doing fine because see, he has knight developed queen and bishop and is ready to castle. And Black has opened up the king side. He has this pawn here, so which is covering this square. So yeah, so on the surface, it seems that White is doing okay, but in essence, White is actually badly off and is actually losing here. So let's see. So this check, so I have to get out of the check. So I played knight back to f7, and my opponent now again moves the bishop back to attack my knight. Okay, so what's the purpose of this? So he just wants to damage my pawn structure right here. So this knight is pinned right now, and yeah. So at this moment, white is completely lost over here. So it's just a matter of now capitalizing on the weaknesses that white has created, and it seems like he's doing well, but he's lost. So I'm going to show you. This is a very crazy wild game. Uh, and I'm an attacking player, so if these positions don't excite you, it's not an opening for you. Okay, so he pinned my knight, so I played pawn to g6. Pawn to g6, so I'm attacking the queen, so he has to react to this. And first of all, he captured my knight, which is an inaccuracy, right? It doesn't do anything except damage my pawn. But yeah, so I had to take back the bishop. And when you look at it, um, positional wise, I have a center. These two pawns are controlling these squares, all these squares. These two pawns are doing a great job. I also have this extra pawn which I can push to add additional grip to control all these squares. And you can see white's queen side is a bit neglected, and in a moment you're going to see how many pieces are going to come alive, yeah, to come to life. So yeah, so my opponent has to react to this. So he took the pawn, which again is an inaccuracy, right? Um, so how do we punish this? So I captured the pawn, and now you can see what's happening here. So I've captured the pawn. This knight, so this unleashes the full force of the rook. Remember, my rook is nicely protected by the knight here, and the queen has to stay in touch with the knight. But the unfortunate thing is, I also have a double attack on the knight, um, from my rook and from my queen. So you can see now my pieces are coming to life right now. So my opponent has to react to this. So he captures this pawn, only obvious move, and you can see now his knight is hanging, so he's lost a piece. Yeah. Um, I took the knight in this position, allowing my opponent to take this pawn, which I later learned is a mistake. The best move over here is actually to play rook h6, chase away the queen, and this same time protecting this pawn. Then I can always capture the knight. So that's an improvement I've learned in this line. But anyway, yeah. So I took the queen, which is a mistake. This is a mistake actually. The computer tells me it's a mistake. Okay, this was a blitz game. So yeah, so let's see how my opponent played. He captured my pawn, and this is a check. And you can see my rook is also under attack. So um, the move here is pretty much forced, yeah. So I played bishop d7, blocking the jack. At the same time, a queen protects the rook. So he goes for another pawn. Queen d5. So when you look at this position, actually, it's pretty interesting and it's pretty scary because my king is here stuck in the center and it's only protected by my pieces. Yeah, there are no pawns surrounding my king. I have my knight, bishop, queen. Uh, you see, it's just pieces protecting my king. So this is a very wide position, and as black, you might be scared, but on the other hand, you can see white's queenside pieces are all not developed, and white is yet to castle. So, and if he castles kingside, yeah, I have my rook here. I can always castle queenside, bring the other rook into the game, and also my queen has access to this square. My bishop can access this square. My bishop can access this diagonal. This other dark squared bishop can also access this diagonal and access this diagonal. So you see, my pieces are all alive, whereas white's pieces are still stuck in the back. So this is a very pretty scary position. And as black, if you're not an attacking player, this is not the start for you. So this is a wild position. So after he took my pawn, I brought my rook out of the corner. It's just getting the rook out of the queen's harm's way. And yeah, so he plays fast developing move. d3. So what this does is now at least um his bishop has somewhere to go. It was locked in. Yeah. And then I played queen d6. So queen d6. So trying to develop my queen. At the same time, I want to hit this queen on this diagonal. I want to put this bishop on this diagonal. So my bishop would be very active here. So control all these squares, and in case he can all the squares up to g2. Yeah. Okay. So that was the purpose behind this move, and my opponent plays knight c3. So he's now developing a piece, finally, but it's too late right now. It's a bit too late. I mean, the activity of my pieces, and you can see again, it's the reminder my king is attacking the center and it's not being protected by anything. It's basically, I just have this pawn which is overstretched because it's two squares away, and I have this knight covering this pawn, and I have this bishop. So my king is basically stuck in the center, and it's wide open. So yeah. So after this move, I continue with my plan. So I play bishop c6, and so this is curing. I'm skewering the queen. So I'm attacking the queen. So he moves the queen to a5, which is okay. And then I pick up the pawn, attacking the rook. So he has to move the rook. So rook g2, which is obvious, attacking my bishop. And I also want you to keep in mind, despite having no pawns, um, look at this diagonal. I mean, I cannot just play this, you know, bishop g4 is always a threat over here. So, um, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with this position. As like again, as you can see, it's a very scary position with your king having no pawns around your king. Your king is basically in the center. But if, believe it or not, black is actually winning here. Okay, so I capture the pawn, um, which okay, the computer tells me it's a mistake, but I just wanted to develop to protect my bishop. Computer suggests queen c6. Keep an eye on the bishop. Um, then my opponent is a bit greedy, I must say. So he goes for this other pawn, and you can see he's also attacking. Um, he's also attacking my rook. So again, he's neglecting development. His bishop is still stuck in the center, and his king is also stuck in the center. And I've destroyed any chance of him ever castling king side. So this rook does a good job. I don't want to remove this diagonal because it does a good job of hitting this pawn. So this bishop can never. It's not quite easy to. It's not quite easy to move this bishop right here. So rook b7, hitting the queen. Um, Queen gives me this check, um, and knight goes back. So blocking this check essentially, protecting the rook. Rook is nicely covered, and again the rook does a tremendous job of, you know, um, carrying this diagonal. Just does a superb job, and you can see, and there's always this threat rook and queen. There's this queen and rook battery eyeing these pawns. So whenever this bishop moves, it's really dangerous. Yeah. So there are a lot of opportunities for black, and again you can see no pawns in front from my king. It's a pretty scary position, I must say. Okay, so I blocked it. So he plays bishop a3, which is okay. It's an okay move. I mean, like I mentioned, well, whenever this um, light squared bishop moves, and you can see actually there's a threat of moving the bishop here and attacking the queen, then Once the bishop moves, the queen and rook have access to f2, which is pretty devastating. So this bishop basically guards against this and prevents all that. But like I said, the rook does a very wonderful job in this diagonal. So since the bishop has moved, capture this pawn also, then also discouraging any ideas of castling even queenside. Um, then my opponent um, actually best here was to castle. Despite everything, the computer actually suggests castling queenside here. It would have been much safer. But yeah, he plays 95. 95 is attacking a queen, but it's pretty rushed, and it's actually a mistake. It's an inaccuracy rather. So I left the queen on this diagonal. So and my bishop right here is not doing much. So I just trade my bishop for the queen. For the knight, sorry. Um, computer suggests bishop b4. Bishop b4. Okay, so he captures back with a pawn, and then I play this move here, queen f3. And the reason I play queen f3 is because this queen right here, um, this is a very tricky position for white, right? I mean, the queen right here. I try to prevent any castling ideas, and now I'm really in the position. And the knight here and the bishop do a wonderful job. The knight is covering this square, this square, this square, this square. So the knight is offering good protection around my king. Um, around my king. So you can see the knight covers all the squares. So no ideas of a check. I can't no any check ideas are out of the question. So the queen can't do really much alone here. So now the game is about to be over right now. He plays um, rook f1, which is a blunder. Um, it's a blunder because now the game is finished. Best was to play a5, a3, sorry, preventing this what I'm going to play next, yeah. So, but this is a blitzed game, remember? So, and rook f1 is actually attractive because in his mind, he's hitting the knight twice, and whenever this bishop, if I try to defend this bishop, then there's this rook check. So my opponent thinks this was a good idea, but then this was the final blow because now I give this deadly check, and then there's no stopping mate here. It's practically impossible to stop mate. I mean, because now what do you do? Any option. If you move the pawn, then it's mate. Queen and rook have access to the e2 square. So it's mate. So this pawn basically cannot move to block the check. Any attempts to block with the queen are simply captured. So that's not an option. And you can't really run away again with a king either because if king f2, then the rook hangs, and it's also a mate. So and yeah, if you try to block this check with the bishop, then you stop defending f2, and again it's mate in 2. It's actually mate in 1. So you can see this rook is doing a good job. All that, and then again, so my opponent played his last move, which is a block to the rook. Um, and now the winning move. This is quite simple. Rook leaves the back rank, and once again, this rook comes in, and it's a mate right now. This rook is pinned. The king has nowhere to go. So quite an interesting game there. And if you just look at this position, and this is a crazy game because you can see my king never moved in the center. I never castled, and there are actually no pawns in front of my king, and it's a very scary position as black, but it's wild, and you can see how all my pieces, how all my pieces are working together. You know, for in this attack, I have one, two, three, four pieces actually. Um, Participating in the attack, and white has only has the queen this side. So yeah, so that's it about the Nimzovich defense. Colorado Gambit. It's a crazy game. It's a wild idea, and this was a blitz game. So if you're an attacking player, I suggest you check out this opening. Um, it's a really good opening if you're an attacking player, and it gives it takes your opponent out of their theory, and gives you a lot of chances. Yeah, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like the video, give the video a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thank you.